Hey everyone, and welcome to our Magical Miracle Network. My name is Ruth Perkinson, and I'm so excited all of you guys are here with me today. I have an amazing guest with me. I haven't seen him in a little while. His name is Zach Sacbe, and I met him about 18 months ago, and he really, truly, I'll be honest, he really changed my life. And so I'm just going to hold the space for a moment before we bring him on so he can feel this, that he really did change my life for the better. I had 40 sessions with him last year, and he really did help me so much. And so he agreed to come on today to talk about his journey with the Course in Miracles. So, Zach Sacbe, welcome to the Magical Miracle Network, my friend.
Yes, what's up, Soul fam? It is good to be here. Wow, 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 how time flies. I am so grateful to be on here with you.
Absolutely. Well, you've done so many amazing things in your life. You're getting ready to have a birthday here in a few days.
I am, it's
You're,
coming up.
you're going to be 25 again.
Yes,
And
ma'am. 33 forever.
exactly. And in the 25 or 33 years you've been here on planet Earth, you've done so many things. And we could probably talk for 2 or 3 hours. But what I'd like to do today is sort of focus on your wisdom and your spiritual journey getting to A Course in Miracles and kind of what that was for you, how you got there, what happened as you were going through it, and what you're doing with it now as you're building this new business that you've been involved in.
Wow, so short and sweet, huh? Well, I guess I could give the brief intro of how it came across. Myself, like a lot of folks out there, I'd say have been pretty spiritually tuned in from the beginning. The first memories I have were asking my mom, like, why are we here? What's the purpose? Tell me what's coming the next 50 years and why I should bother. Now, that didn't make me a perfect person by any means. Got into my share of rebelliousness throughout it, and still am up to that. But I had a good spiritual foundation. I spent a lot of my 20s in Buddhist temples and communities, so the like concept of an absolute truth made sense. But I actually had a really dear friend who had been a student of the course for many years. I always saw him carrying around that blue book, and he tried to get me to read it for a long time. And my brother actually gave me the book as a birthday present one year, and it sat right there on my shelf. um, my buddy who introduced it to me and eventually got me to start reading it, he found the book in a closet. It was his grandmother's, and he dug it out and popped it open, and just his world changed. But I'll tell you, one time I was watching my buddy read his course and do the miracles, the lessons. I didn't know what they were, and I saw him in front of me disappear. He was lying on the bed, like it just looked like, when light comes through the window,
Mhm.
and it just looked like there was so much light coming through the window, and I just got so happy, and he kind of wasn't there on the bed anymore, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh yeah, that's a totally normal. And later
Wow.
when he was done, he came back, and it took him a while, but he actually tricked me into reading the Course in Miracles. You know how he got me into it?
How did he?
He said, I was really interested in bilocation. I was teaching Kundalini yoga and doing a lot of really crazy breath work, and starting to have, if any of you have done really intense, might happen with your course meditations. I found it through breath work, but I'd start to phase into other realities. And I wanted to like get into that other reality. Like I wanted to step through the veil into other places. And so I was kind of interested in bilocation and concepts like that. He's like, oh, you want to know about bilocation? Read this book and it shows you how to do it. And so the book he gave me was The Disappearance of the Universe. And I had never laughed so hard at a book, maybe since I read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That book cracked me up. Very different. But I started reading, Art and Persa and Gary and all them. And that book has had a huge impact on me. And as soon as I read that, I was in. I studied the course. I jumped all in. I think really, my first year with it, where you do the year, was on my 33rd year. So that was super significant.
Mhm.
And now, 10 years later, coming up on 9 years later, it's been a deep part of my life, and very, very powerful, in more ways than I could say in just 1 second. But that was kind of how I came into it. And, I'm a type of person, I'm an Aquarius with double cap. signs. So super visionary, but like also super diligent and digging in. So I loved its structure. And I've also read a bunch of other related books since then, but it all comes back to the course. And I really wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing in my life without that foundation and my partner, Kate. It serves as kind of the the foundation of all we do. And even though I'm not doing the lessons every day, it is very much informed everything I do and how I do it.
Yeah. That's really cool that you're saying that because it does feel like for me too that I'm standing on the rock of that foundation, and it really has provided such a better framework for my entire life. And to your point, I mean, for me too, I've had a few mystical experiences. I'm like, oh my God, did I just see that, or did that just happen? And they were beautiful and blissful and sort of beatific. And when that happened, I was like, okay, I think I'm on to something here. I was like, I mean, it was amazing. So can you tell us a little bit more about the guy disappearing just for a second? Because that really has rocked my world here for a second. So he literally just sort of disappeared in front of you.
Yeah. And it's not the only time I've had disappearing things. That's happened two other times in my life. Um, but yeah, it just looked like light shimmering, and he was lying down, and he came back later. I was like, oh, I thought you had left, like you weren't here early. He's like, no, I was right over on the bed lying down just doing my meditation. And I could see, when somebody like notices something about the course but they haven't done it yet, and the
Yeah.
look on their face and the way your eyes shimmer when you just smile at them, because you're
Yeah.
like, I can't even explain it all to you,
Yeah.
right? And but I think that a lot of people have had that experience where they feel as if they disappear. When you do your lessons or you tune in together, like you do end up somewhere else. And so I think maybe it's because I've had a few different wires crossed in my
Yeah.
how I operate compared to some others, so I was able to sense and see that a little bit more.
Right.
uh, but yeah, it was a really incredible experience.
Yeah.
I
And
hadn't
also,
thought about it in years until we brought it up just
yeah,
now.
I know. And, and to your point, a couple people on this channel have talked about the disappearance of the universe. And that was a book that was brought to me 3 or 4 months into my study of A Course in Miracles. And that really sort of laid out that linear framework of the Course. Gary's work did. And because the Course, of course, is holographic, but it really kind of just gave that linear framework and kind of put all the pieces together for me and sort of bumped me up a little bit in my studies.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't have imagined getting through the whole thing without that as context. And when I've introduced it to other people, I often encourage them to read that first.
Yeah, absolutely. All
Shout
right.
out to
Well,
Gary, man. Big fan. Thanks for all you
yeah,
do,
so
buddy.
Gary Renard, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And hopefully we'll get him on here as well. We've had his wife on here and his sister-in-law,
Yeah. Very
and
cool.
they did a great job. We're going to have him back on in a couple of months. But anyway, so as you're doing the course, did you have any like obstacles with it, or you just kind of floated through it? Was there anything that because sometimes people will talk about some of the obstacles they do encounter with it. Did you experience any of that, or did you just kind of just roll with it?
Yeah, I'm pretty perfect. I didn't have any issues. Nothing came up for me. No problems at all. Just pretty much knocked it out. Good one, huh?
Yes, it just
Yeah,
skewed
okay.
right through it.
So let's see if I can I throw you a couple? Would that be all right?
Yes.
Um, I think that there's a few phases I particularly went through. One is what I would call the religious zealot phase, right? Where I just become completely attached to everything, literally trying to convince other people that this is the way to see it. And, telling my sister the universe isn't even real, man. But like with more like anger and frustration than it was divinity, right? Like that kind of phase.
Yeah.
Um, and and maybe the like I remember I was dating someone at the time, and they would point out the difference between what the course would say and how I was, right? So there's this huge discrepancy between what you're reading and where you're at. um the other big one was um well, before I mention more obstacles, in general though, I really loved it, and like I had a good meditation and disciplined practice, so that sticking to it wasn't as much, at least for me, and I'm not special in that regard. It's just kind of how I operate, that that actually went really well for me and assisted me to get into it. But I think that it was years before it actually like sinked in and I began to soften, right? And the hardness and the disciplinary and the intenseness of it kind of melted.
Mhm.
And it was probably like 3 years of working the course continuously where I actually began to experience forgiveness of self.
Mhm.
And this was a huge shifting point where I began to feel what it felt like to like not beat myself up for not being spiritually perfect. And therefore I became more spiritually perfect, right? Like
Yeah.
that whole thing really began. And I remember looking at people around me that were working the course. I was like, oh, that hasn't happened yet. Okay. And I could really feel that. And that, like, I'm just going back to those moments now was such a gift. And again, didn't make me perfect, but it was a big change and a big shift and a beautiful thing.
I
Now,
think that's so helpful, Zach, just you saying that it is a process, it's a practice. It takes a little while for people to kind of let it sink into their system. To your point, I was a little bit proselytizing with it when I first started, like, oh my God, I found the answer to the whole thing. Here, everybody. And I was throwing it out to everybody, and they're all like, they thought I had three heads. And I was like, okay, they're not ready for this. Maybe in a different lifetime. I don't know. But yeah, I was the same way. I was like trying to just pass it along to as many people as
yeah.
I could. And I kind of learned the hard way that it's not really everybody's cup of tea, but when you're ready for it, and then you're ready for it.
Well, some of the phrases I love are like, I don't remember who said this. Might have been Gary or someone, but the worst friend to have when you're going through when a hard time is a Course in Miracles student, right? Because they'll be like, oh, uh, don't worry, it's not real. And you're like, I hurt so bad. And so I actually had to like retrain myself to be a bit more ordinary, and a bit more like understanding of people and not so locked in a place. But that was pretty powerful. I'd say the next level and one I'm now coming to the next shift and evolution with is being in a divine relationship with my partner Kate, bless her heart, because that's when I really began to see how much projection I was doing and how much projection she was doing. And that's taken, we're going on 5 years in our beautiful relationship, which has been an eternity. But when you have a person with you all the time, and they're also reading the same thing, right? So we met at a Course in Miracles retreat, which is probably about one of the coolest, best places you can meet a partner. And that was several years of just realizing, wow, I'm projecting this onto her, this onto her, this onto her, this onto her. Good God. And even now, like when we have an issue, our first thing we come back to is like, what am I doing that's causing this? Right. And so that as a foundation has been huge. We talk like we don't know how other people go through long-term relationships without having some sort of foundation from understanding projection as the course describes it in their lives. Like I feel like I don't know how you do it, man.
Yeah, I to your point, I've been in a relationship now for 15 years, and if I didn't have a course, I don't think I'd still be in this relationship because I kept thinking that I had to pop into another relationship to get whatever I wasn't getting in this relationship. And oh, it's somewhere out there. I kept looking, but now, Heather and I both are, into the course. And she doesn't study as much as I do, but she understands the foundational principles. And so we really have a closer dynamic than any of the other relationships I've ever been in. And that's really cool that the course can bring you that kind of sort of like it sort of solidifies our passion to have a holy relationship, not a special relationship.
First of all, shout out to Heather. Love her too. And love you. You too, as an example for folks who don't know you personally and I haven't got a chance to hang out in your room and see purple angels come down and sit with us. That was a very cool experience. You two are a great example. And something that I wanted to bring into the theme today, I wasn't sure how it was going to come up, but what I've been realizing now as I go through it is that when I first read the course, it was really for me focused on the external world isn't real. Don't pursue anything there. But as the lessons have sunk in deeper and deeper, and I'm still here rocking this bodysuit, um, I have become more engaged in like, how can I do the most in the external world, but as a reflection of me coming more and more fully into my full being. And even the dichotomy of like, oh, it's not real, or, you know, kill the ego and step away. Like now when
Yeah.
I read it, like that stuff isn't there for me as much. And I've shifted much more into external pursuits. When I started the course, I was really, all I cared about was spirituality and nothing outside and just the inner work. And that has kind of evolved now. And I don't feel a discrepancy. And so I'm curious for other students out there of the course who have been working with it either for a short time or particularly a little bit longer, if you felt kind of an evolution in how you view the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a really great question, Io, because I think because it does, I think for some course students, I think it's a little bit of level confusion where they think, oh, it's not real. I'm just going to disengage
yeah,
and not be a part of it because it's illusory. And then, but that truly, from my perspective, is kind of like confusing the levels a little bit. And so it's really, we have level one, which is our mind, which is the mind training. And then level two is everything out here in the world of form, which is where we appear to be. And I think, he is really asking us to engage in the world, knowing what it's all for, which is for forgiveness and for joy and for happiness and releasing and all that. But at the same time, use the Holy Spirit's inspiration to navigate you through the world as you're going through it, because the Holy Spirit is really inspiring you and me both to do things, and sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone a little bit and doing something we've never tried before. And one of the things, and I'll just speak for myself, this year I've done this YouTube thing, and I never thought I could even find the button to hit, but I knew the Holy Spirit was working through me to say, yes, let's give this a whirl. And I know you've had this transition this year into, stepping into something new for you. So we can kind of talk about that if you'd like.
yeah, sure. So, well, first of all, I'm reminded of what a great Course in Miracles teacher you are. I'm really grateful, and thank you for all you do. And I love the way you explain it. That was it. It's levels confusion. Um, so yeah, I've had a really interesting shift. I'm trying to think of how to simplify it. So there was a time not too long ago that I was working in had a great tech job, which was kind of the pinnacle of an experience. I had a huge forgiveness opportunity of kind of, how do I say this in a way that has zero blame, but kind of a lot of stuff being put out into the professional world that I was in, that I was this abuser and horrible person, and all of these lies being told and everything. And my career of 10 plus years, it it only came to an end because I didn't know how to handle that, like kind of the being canceled, but not for valid reasons. And so it was again, I come back to art and in Perso, like I had this huge forgiveness opportunity that was tremendous to go through. And as that kind of peaked, I shifted into other types of work. Um, and eventually I stopped all professional work and I was just doing channeling and just doing coaching and all of that, which was a blast, and building teeny houses and converting bands and reforesting the desert and having a good old time. And that was kind of the world that you and I met in. And eventually my guidance was telling me that I had to do much more, much more. And they actually began, they worked on my health, they worked on my relationships, they worked on my energy coaching and energy work, but they also began to get involved in my finances, which I had always thought was like, no, that's not spiritual, right? And they're
Right.
like, listen, go find yourself. You need to learn how to build multi-million-dollar companies, and you need to learn how to orchestrate and work with millions and billions of people if you're going to have an impact on the earth. And again, I know this isn't sometimes seen as completely Course in Miracles, so we'll find a way to marry all of it. But this was the guidance I was getting. They said, go find yourself some mentors that are billionaires and learn how to build these huge, profitable businesses. And in part, it was because I saw so many people suffer, partially their mindset, but their mindset was a mindset of poverty. And I saw how much it prevented them from just living a certain way. And one thing led to another. You know what it's like to follow guidance. You're just like, I'm going to listen. And I am great at listening and
Yeah.
figuring it out as I go. Like that is, thank God, a gift of mine. And
It really is a gift of yours. I've seen you do that where you get the true inspiration. You're not sure about all the pieces yet, but you're just going to go forward. And
yeah,
that is a gift. That is a spiritual gift you have. Yeah.
thank you, my friend. Thank you. It is because I have friends that it's not as easy for, and I'm like, oh man, That must be tough to, I've got my own struggles in other areas. But so the guidance was to do this, but the funny thing is how it's right in front of your face. Kate had been building her college coaching business, University Guru. She helps kids get into college, which is getting insanely hard and crazy. And she needed a lot of help scaling. So this last year I stopped the channeling and I went to work with her full time, which was a huge like forgiveness and advanced lesson of forgiving yourself to change gears and to be allowed to shift positions. And so
Yeah.
the funny thing is, though, is that as that has evolved, now I'm getting to coach kids again. I used to be a high school teacher, university professor. So I'm finding that connection. And ultimately, it's ironic because I don't even think college is the best fit for every kid.
Yeah.
Um, so where we're going to be able to go with this is offering more what I think we could call true education, right? Some of the stuff you learn in school, but also a lot of the stuff you don't, and marrying that. And we are an extremely authentic couple. And so now that all of our energy is together,
Mhm.
and every project we do is together, I've never felt this much energy in my life. You know, the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go to far, go together. And
Yeah.
so it's been remarkable. And I thought this would take us 10, 15 years, but the speed and the rates that things have been changing has been remarkable. But at the end of every day and at the beginning, the principles of the course are what's allowing us to shift. And there's a lot I could say on that, but that's kind of the general take of where I've been
Yeah.
now and where that's kind of leading. And again, it's all just listening to guidance and
Yeah.
committing wholeheartedly, 100%. And actually, the quote that it isn't my favorite quote, but when you told me it would be on the course today and maybe have a quote prepared, the
Yeah.
one that we pulled out that I thought was worth talking about today was you must learn that only infinite patience produces immediate results. And so what I've been finding even in the business world and the wealth building world, like we're building a $125 million company and we're going for financial freedom and generational wealth. And this lesson I have found so relevant that as soon as we commit, it's even like Kate has it plastered, like commit 100%, and the entire world melts and a new reality presents itself. So it's not that old culture of work hard and you'll get there. Yes, we work our tails off, but it's also the mindset. And
Mhm.
it's that 1,000% commitment wholeheartedly, and not just like thinking, but believing. Like the
Yeah.
power develop working the course allows you to melt reality to create reality. And even if it's illusionary in a way, that. So and you're okay with it. So that's just so powerful for me right now.
I love that quote, infinite patience produces immediate results, immediate effects. It's a great quote from the course, and I truly believe that. And also, it just popped in my mind while you were talking, and I'll bring this up because it's definitely a Holy Spirit moment, is that he talks about this in the manual for teachers about, you are going to be going, as you go through your timeline, you go through your life, the Holy Spirit is bringing you people you really need to meet, you really need to bump up against in a sense. And so it sounds to me, and I'll see if this resonates with you, that you and Kate, the children, oh, I might get weepy, the children really need your guidance, your wisdom, in a way that's going to help them, again, pull out of that poverty mindset, right? Pull out of that and let them know that the gift of their mind is infinite. It's infinitely full of abundance,
Yeah.
and there it is. And you guys can tap into these resources and really begin to teach, standing on the principles of A Course in Miracles, these children who are coming your way, these students, what they can do with the power of their mind, which is everything. Everything is the power of our beautiful mind. And when you believe in love, when you believe and you have faith and you have trust in the power of the creative ability of your spiritual mind, then the world really becomes this limitless place you can come into and really heal from and do so many great things. And wow, so I don't know if that resonates with you or.
Oh, so true. It's fun that we get to drop these things. We've almost felt like, in the temple times, they would talk about the invisible spirituality, that the greatest spiritual walkers of the planet, well, I mean, Jay did one thing and caused some ripples, but for a lot of us, it's almost about leaving no trace, right? And so we get to bring in all of this stuff into how we're working with the kids. But it's not just the kids. I find a lot of what I'm doing is almost more for the parents.
Yes.
It's more for the parents to affirm them. We always talk about if we find any stress, we take it, we
Yeah.
turn it into like love and light, and we give it back to them. So
Yes.
that's in our daily kickoff. Like, hey, if anybody's stressed, take their stress, transform it, and give it back to them as joy. And
Yeah.
so we do that a lot with the parents, and it comes in handy, man. It really does. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we're really all kids at heart, aren't we? We really are. And we just keep growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just keep growing in these meat suits. But yeah, I love that, Zach. Well, you're such a great wisdom teacher. And anything else from A Course in Miracles you want to bring through? Any other thoughts more about what your journey is now with your work? Is there anything we can do as a network to help you? We've got 125 subscribers right now, and I think a lot of these beings, yeah, we're building our channel. Well, a lot of these beings are always looking to for a way to connect and help. Is there any like a website people can go to find you, to see what you're doing, to see if they can be of assistance or service?
Absolutely. Yes. You could find our business at universitygurus.com, and we do a ton of free workshops. So if you know anybody that college is a good fit for, or they are going down that path, please send them our way. We're only able to help a handful of students one-on-one, like we do white glove concierge, full service coaching. So if that's a good fit, we'd love to help. Of course, of course. But I want to make an attempt to trigger people as I leave here and as I wrap up, because I'm
Okay.
curious if this would happen for anyone else. So we all know as good course students that if we get triggered, oh, that's something in us looking for more to come out. And a lot of the clients that Kate has traditionally worked with and we work with are in a whole different reality wealth wise. Um, like we charge quite a bit for our services. It is very high level. Um, and so for me to shift into this world of people who have multiple houses, can fly private, have yachts, like this very different, you might call it an uber wealthy, uber rich world. Um, I have had to look a lot at my limiting beliefs, a lot at perspectives I had of other people who were wealthy or super rich, or what it meant to have millions or billions of dollars. And so I'm curious if for anybody else out there, when you look at this, when you think about this, what thoughts and feelings come out? Do you have negative thoughts? Do you have feelings of, oh, that's not for me, or I can't do that? Because what I have found is that our journey, at least at the moment, we're not pursuing wealth to be, it has been spirit guided, right? Like I didn't set out to do this. Before this happened, I was out reforesting in the desert growing my own food. So I'm quite content living like very simple life. But as I've done this, I've noticed that it's actually taken incredible spiritual strength for me to find those triggers, find those walls, dissolve them, and then look at worth. Yes, we are all worthy of all of this. There's enough money for all of us to have millions or almost $1 billion per person on the planet. And the reason it isn't happening is because we don't believe that we deserve it. And I know that the course is not as much about like we need the physical things, we need the outer world. So I'm not trying to make any like hard dictations here, but I am curious if other folks out there have experiences around that. If you sit with it, what comes up for you? Because I've been doing a lot of work clearing my basement, clearing the cabinets, clearing the obstacles to peace around this journey of providing more for ourselves and everyone around us. And so if anybody does, if that comes up, throw it in the comments. This is where I want to have this discussion. Go down in the comments, leave your thoughts, and I'll join in there. And I'd be really curious about that. I know this isn't for everyone, but it's been relevant for me. So I just wanted to open that up. I hope that's okay, and I'm curious if
Absolutely. It does bring up, Ken Wapnick is one of my great guides and teachers with all this work. And, he
oh
said
yeah,
the four obstacles to peace in our hearts and minds is the first one is the inner critic, the inner, attack teacher, and the outer attack, the fear of death, fear of God. Those are the four obstacles. And the one that I find I see commonly among a lot of people, regardless of their core students or not, is that inner worthiness. And that we have been so trained out of that that we're just not worthy. And I think that A Course in Miracles is really teaching us that we are worthy of everything. And Jesus is asking us to use everything practically in this world to help in the service of spirit. He is practically asking us, to use everything as, uh, you know, as part of our, instruction here. And the Holy Spirit is mediating between the illusions and all of it into the truth. And so when we use food, when we use money in service of spirit, that's the holiest of holies right there, here in the world of form we appear to be in. And so we can look at money and wealth as a holy capability to help us bring everybody out of that mindset of poverty, the mindset of unworthiness, or whatever it might be. So I'm getting a chill just saying that.
Oh, I just had an insight here that I haven't had the whole time. You just flipped the whole thing for me that actually Spirit is using these things because it could see, man, if you use these as a tool, you're gonna open up even more. You're gonna open up even more. I'm
Yeah,
getting like so full of light
absolutely.
and love right now because that is the tool, right? Everything is a tool for forgiveness. And I really love, again, thank you for your teaching and reflection there because that's what it is. They're like, hey, this guy, try this on for size and see what shifts and changes. So,
Yes. Yes.
wow, beautiful.
Well, thank you. Well, Zach, I love you. I love your wisdom. I love your energy. I love your spirit. You're a great healer in so many ways. You've had so many incredible life experiences. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you to come back in a couple of months. And if there's anything this network can do to help in any way, shape, or form, glad to be of service for you and your work with Kate and the university gurus. And we love the children, and
Yeah.
this education that we're bringing forth is here to help the children, to help the parents, to help the people who are very wealthy, to help the people that are in the middle, to help the people that are over here. We're all doing it together to level the playing field of love and light so that we can all get the education that it's all about love and forgiveness, and to have that infinite patience to produce those immediate results, those immediate effects. So I love you, my friend. Any final wisdom or words you want to share with us before we end our little chit chat today?
Well, the only thing is, if you do want to connect, the only platform I'm really on at the moment is Instagram over at Sacbe. So if that is a way, would love to follow you, get involved in your life. As Ruth knows, I love getting personable and relationshipy and connected. So just want to thank you a lot and offer love to everyone who's watching. So hi, great to meet you. I'm glad you're watching this. I hope this fills you with a lot of love and stay on the journey. And hopefully you find so much inspiration from this conversation that you're ready to do things now that you weren't before you watch this. And I'm cheering you on.
Yes, absolutely, Zach. Thank you so much. I'm going to take off my glasses, find the stop button here. And so God bless you, my friend. God bless Kate. God bless the university gurus. And we'll see you in a couple of months, right?
Yes, ma'am. See y'all soon. Love you, fam.
All right. Peace to you, my brother.